So if it grabs this giant lawnmower blade shaped object and decides to fling it, I don't want it in my chest. So okay, this is how I went about making steps for the rock rails. I wanted a little step, doors off, a little place to rest your foot. Got to work on the top or put the top up or down, place to stand to where your foot's not going to get wedged between the tub and the outer rail. Now, I have size 13 feet, so the chances of my foot getting stuck down between there are pretty slim, but my daughter's feet is pretty high chance. So if she sees a step, she'll use a step, she'll stand on the step. And plus, I thought it would look cool, and it's going to offer some decent rigidity right in the dead center of the rock where I'm most likely going to lay this thing on a rock or against a tree. So the first thing I did was a little CAD. Took the cardboard, cut it to where I wanted it. I knew I wanted it about 14 inches wide. I made these little side pieces here and kind of contoured it and cut it out. I'm not going to show you how I did that because it's a lot of just kind of fiddling to get it basically where you want it. You have to get it where you like it, where you think it's going to look good. You might do it half as wide, you might do it twice as wide, you might not do these little corner things, you might just bridge the gap and be done with it. Once you have this, and you can see I put these holes, this is how I plan on my holes looking. I went ahead and laid it out on this piece of steel. This is 1/8 inch garbage plate that I had laying around the garage. I went ahead and found center and marked center on the plate, and then I scribed the line, my two lines here. Basically it's a 3-inch wide plate, so it's 1 inch and 1 inch. And then I went ahead and marked my holes, and the way I did that was I put one in the middle here, and then I did 2 inches spacing. So I did 2 inch, 2 inch, 2 inch, 2 inch, 2 inch, 2 inch. Up here I split it, so I did 1 inch and 1 inch, and then continued my 2-inch pattern. Once I was done that, I went ahead and center punched, if you can see them. You want to go ahead and get yourself a good, it doesn't have to be a good center punch, but you want to get a good center punch on. This is what I've been using. I used to use the little, but now I use an actual punch that I kind of keep sharp. And that with a small ball peen hammer makes such a nice center punch. I mean, it's deep enough that you can move this plate around, you know, so the drill bit's going to sit in there real nice. I'm going to go ahead and use my drill press for this. It goes a lot faster than hand drilling. Starting with this little pilot bit. The reason I start with the pilot bit is it just helps the big bit eat much better. We're going to a 1/2 inch hole. So I don't even know what size this is. I just picked a random one. Looks like 3/16. So I'm going to go ahead and blow through all these with the 3/16 bit and then switch over to the 1/2 inch bit. And then I'll show you what we're going to do from there. And I'm sure some of you are going to yell at me. I am using WD-40 as my lube, but it works okay for this. These are really cheap Harbor Freight drill bits. I basically run them until I burn them up or break them, and then I go get another set. I'd probably do well to get a nice set, but it is what it is. Okay, now the fun part. We're going to dimple die this plate. This is a fairly new process to me, but I did it already and it came out pretty good. One thing you want to make sure is that you clean these holes out. You don't want a whole bunch of burrs or anything gross in there, because whatever's in there is going to stay in there when you dimple dye it. So if there's a bunch of burrs, your burrs are going to be part of your dimple dye. So I'm using a 1/2 inch dimple dye. Here's what it looks like. Okay, you got a male side and a female side. And you want to decide which is the top of your plate, which is the bottom of your plate, and which direction you want the dimple dye to go. This is the top of my plate because this is where I've laid everything out. And I want the dimple dye to go up because I want it to act like a traction device. So what I'll do is put this part on the bottom. So let's start at the end. You see it fits through there real nice. Goes together like that. You want to press down on the male side. So you stick it in your press, get it lined up in the center. I'm just using a 12-ton press here. I'm not using anything crazy. I have found that it works amazingly if you lubricate it. The first couple tests I did not lubricate the piece, and it was kind of ugly. And again, I'm just using WD-40, just a little squirt in there. This part gets a little messy. And then you go ahead and press until it stops. So right about there. And then you let it up. Now, what I did on the last, I already did one of these, and what I ended up doing was I did a lot of dimple dyeing first. I dimple dyed all the holes. See, that's what it looks like, if you can see that. Pretty nice. I dimple dyed the whole plate, and you will get some distortion. I don't know if you can see that, but it's already starting to curve. Now, you can combat that a couple different ways. One way is to hit it with like a rubber mallet when you're done, and you can get it kind of flat. The other way is if you're doing a couple, you can actually use this upside down, and you can press down, and it'll flatten it out. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to do that between each round, or between each hole here, to see if I can keep the plate from getting so distorted, because I had to do an awful lot of whacking with the hammer to get it to where I consider it to be good. So let's see if that does anything for us. Yep, nice and flat again. So we're going to do a little dance here where we dimple dye and then reverse dimple dye, whatever the hell you want to call that, and see if we can keep this plate nice and flat. Again, this is 1/8 inch plate. This is something that you can do real easy if you want to make a step, or if you're making gussets for your roll cage and you want to add some speed holes. These dimple dyes work really well. And if you had a press that wasn't a piece of junk, Harbor Freight 12-ton, if you had the 20-ton, I feel like this would go way, 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 way better. Not that this is going bad, it could definitely go better. Also, if you're lucky enough to have a press with a hydraulic assist or a pneumatic assist, it'd be a lot better too. So this is it. It's not real flashy. It's not real, it's a little time consuming. It's staying much flatter. It's still a little bit wonky, but that's pretty flat. And I'm getting a real nice raised section there. So I'm going to go ahead and just do the rest of these and then just show you what it looks like when I'm done. Because I can't do this on video for too long. You guys are going nuts. If you want to get yourself a set of these dimple dyes, you can go ahead and check out the links down in the description. It'll take you to my Amazon store where I have these linked. This kit comes with a 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, and a 1 inch. I was going to use the 3/4 inch, but after I actually dimple dyed it, I realized that it's more like an inch after you look at the raised portion. So we stuck with the 1/2 inch, but I'm going to use these other ones on some other projects. So go ahead and check it out and get yourself a set. They're really cheap, and they're really cool. They're fun to use. And then here you have it. Here's the finished plate. Now, if you look down, see how it has that slight, just a little curve. It's actually not even that bad. So, little tip, or actually a big tip. If you're doing something like this, do that little trick I showed you where I flipped it over and used just the female dye to press this flat. Because I'll tell you what, That saved a lot of work. The first time I did it, it was like a banana. It was a banana. So all that's left to do then is score. Well, actually here, score where I want to bend the tabs down, bend them down, fit them in between the bar and the tub, and I'll show you how I do that when it's time to fit this in. But that's pretty much it. Do a little bit of last grinding. I left all this raw from the plasma cutter because I got to trim it. I got to make it fit nice. So that's what it looks like though. Like I said, that little bit of curve, I'll put it on that piece of wood block, whack it with a rubber mallet a couple times, and it'll be dead straight. So there you go. I just had a dimple die a step. So I know my center point here. I still have my center point from when I laid the plate out to begin with. And I originally designed this step to be 14 inches. So I'm going to come off of this center step 7 inches in both directions and put little marks. And then what I'm going to do is grab a square and I'm going to just kind of draw a line connecting that 14-inch dimension to the, across the whole plate here. Keep the line square. This is not rocket science. I'm also not doing any kind of super it's not like I'm designing this for the space shuttle or anything. So next step is to go ahead and score this. Now this is my top because this is where my raised holes are, and I want to fold this down. So if you're folding, you're going to cut on the opposite side of the direction you're going to go. So I'm going down, I'm going to cut on the top side. I'm going to go about halfway through. I'm going to hit my vise up there, give it a little bend. Then we're going to see how it fits because I'm likely going to have to do some shaving after I bend it. Like I said, this is not a precise operation, so there may be some fluctuations in the straightness of those lines or whatever. That should be good enough. And I'm going to grab it and bend it. Nice and easy. Should go pretty easy if you cut through enough. And then I'm just going to grab this square and just use that as my guide for how far I need to go. So, a little bit more. There you go. That's perfect. So I'm going to release this and do the same thing. Now what you get, if you've never done that before, is you get a nice bend, and you just have to fill this side in with a little bit of weld. You kind of get like a weld prep. So this has worked really well for me over the years for not having the right tools to do the job. A sheet metal bender or an iron worker would be awesome. Those things are expensive. We had one at work and I was like, oh man, maybe I could just find a used one somewhere. And no, they're still expensive. And we're going to offer it up to here and just see what it looks like. So you might be thinking that's pretty close, and you're probably right. It's pretty close, but let me show you the issue. The issue is I'm up about 1/4 inch there. So what I need to do is I need to come in and grind this out a little bit is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do that real quick and then show you what that looks like when it's done. Okay, I think I got it fixed up now. See, I have it sitting pretty nice, just like that, a little bit closer. And then we have a little bit of bow still from the forming of the dimple die. So the first thing I'm going to probably do is tack it just like that. One tack, good to go. So before I do that, I need to check and see where we're at level wise. So I don't know if the Jeep's level, so we're going to go off of the face of this. So we're at 89.3, right? So put it on here. What's 89.3? How do you get to 90, right? 0.7. So we're going to take a look at this and see how close we can get. think I saw 0.7 there for a second. So what I'll likely do is, since we have a little bit of wonkiness, I'll probably hit it to 0.7 right there. And then I'm going to zap it in the back so it stays in place at that level. And then I'll come tack the front, and I'm going to run a bunch of tacks on this sucker and weld it off the Jeep so I don't warp that back plate. I'm going to clamp a piece of angle iron to it to try to keep it from warping and moving around. That's where the most heat has gone so far in welding these things is, and that's why I think a lot of manufacturers have pads. I just didn't do that. I don't have the time to mess with that. So I think what I'll do like the other side, I'm going to line this up so that this center hole is centered up with that bolt. That's about equal distant from here to here. It might be a little bit forward, but that's okay because that puts it a little bit closer to where your foot's going to land if you're using it as a step. So that's how I decided to handle that. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get that lined up, give her a couple tacks, and then we should be good to go. So at this point we're tacked in. It's not really going to move. Take one last look at it. Is that what I want? Think so. So that's what we're going to get. So now I'm going to run a bunch of tacks. Let's get to it. Okay, so this is what we got here. It's welded. It's not perfect. I'll have to come through and clean up some of the splatter. But I don't think I'm going to do a whole lot of grinding on it. I could probably grind it and make it kind of smooth or whatever. I don't really care. I'm proud enough of what I'm able to do to... Boy, this camera does not do close up. But anyway, I'm pretty proud of what I'm able to build, and I don't need to hide it. So there she is. Driver's side's done. Driver's side and passenger side are to the same level of done. So the next step is I need to take these flares and put them on and mask where the flare ends very nicely, because I'm going to be sanding a lot of this down and painting. That's the next step. The other side is worse than this, and I'm considering, well, that's not too bad. Some of these are kind of blown out, and I was gonna go ahead and just maybe since I'm doing all this welding, weld a patch in there. I think maybe I'll just clean it up and do some rust preventative on it and leave it like it is. So next up for these, they're gonna get pulled off after I put those flares on and mask mask along the top so I know where everything's gonna be covered. Pull those both off, both driver and passenger side. And then I think what I'm gonna do is start welding the holes. I'm gonna go ahead and do that, get that done. Any of the other holes that have to be welded, I'm gonna weld, back it outside, clean out the the torque boxes, try to get all that sand and crap out of there. And then I'm going to wire wheel and pour 15 the underneath. Once that's done, I'll go ahead and do all my painting. I'm hoping to do that this weekend. And then maybe we can get this thing put back together enough to drive it after I get these painted and reinstalled. Yeah, and I have to, you know, put wheel wells back in and mow and start to get the pool open. So yeah, I got a lot of work to do. But that's it for the rock rails. I'm not going to show you how to paint them. Just paint them. Self-etching primer. Get rid of all the little splatters and stuff. Self-etching primer. Clean up any areas that are too ugly for you. Hit them with whatever paint you want. I'm going to use Rust-Oleum semi-gloss black because when I drag these against a rock or a tree, I don't want to have a hard time touching them up. I just want to get a little Scotch-Brite and then and we're done. All good to go again for the next trip. So I'm not going to show all that, but I will show you the final product in a later video so you can see what it looks like. So cool. Go build something.